Welcome to Around the Weird. Here's your host, the museum curator of the strange and unusual, Mr. Nothing.
Thank you, mysterious voice, and welcome back to Around the Weird, a booktube channel where I talk about all the unusual and out of the ordinary literature that I have found in my travels. And today it is Poetry Thursday, so I wanted to talk about some exciting poetry that has interested me lately. And today's poem is all about destruction, or destruction that could have been foretold of some sort. I am referring to This Beginning May Have Always Meant This End by Camille Dungy. For those who don't know, Camille Dungy is an American author known primarily for her poetry. She's also written a couple anthologies and has served as an editor and even wrote an essay, I believe. And she's won awards for her work, including the National Endowment for the Arts, which is pretty significant if you believe that it is significant, of course. And she's well regarded for her poetry, with a lot of people noting that she talks pretty frequently about nature, and she's one of the sort of niche few black nature poets. I don't know how true that is or whatnot, but that's what I've found in my research for her. So it maybe that's something that not a lot of black poets talk about. Maybe there's just not that many nature poets left. Not everyone can be Robert Frost these days. It doesn't really pay anymore. A very interesting poet. A lot of her poetry has stood out to me, and one poem in particular seems rather poignant, and I wanted to share with you today. So without further ado, let's talk about this poem. I will read it, do a little bit of analysis, and we will move on from there. This beginning may have always meant this end. Coming from a place where we meandered mornings and met quail, scrub jay, mockingbird, I knew coyote like everyone else. I knew cactus, knew tumbleweed, lichen on the rocks, and pill bugs beneath. Rattlers sometimes, the soft smell of sage and the ferment of cactus pear, coming from this place, from a place where grass might grow greener on the hillside in winter than in any yard, where the whole rest of the year, everything I loved, chaparral pea, bottle brush tree, jacaranda, mariposa, pinyon, and desert oak, the kumquat in the back garden and wisteria vining the porch, the dry grass whispering long after the last rains, raccoons in and out of the hills, trash hurled by the hottest wind, the dry grass tall now and golden, lawn chairs, eucalyptus, everything, in a place we knew, everything we knew, little and large and mine and ours, except horror, all of it. Everything could flame up that quickly, could flare and be gone. So that was This Beginning Might Have Always Meant This End by Camille Dungy. In terms of analysis, there's a little bit worth talking about here. As I noted earlier, Dungy is a nature kind of poet. And you see that here, her talking about, like, I knew coyote like everyone else. I knew cactus, knew tumbleweed, lichen on the rocks, and pill bugs beneath. Talking about like where grass might grow greener on the hillside in winter than in any yard. She's describing a scene, a place where presumably she lives. This sounds like a very scrub step kind of place, deserty a little bit. And Camille, if you recall, is from California. If you recall, I didn't describe it, but she has lived in California in the past. I believe teaching at one of the colleges there, and so she might be describing a place where she's lived here, in a very sort of like happy, nostalgic kind of way, because it seems like she's very happy living in this place, and noting all the animals and the plants and just the general atmosphere that this place has, and it seems like a really wonderful place. But the end of the poem is pretty devastating, and that she says, everything we knew, little and large and mine and ours, except horror, all of it, everything could flame up that quickly, could flare and be gone, suggesting that all of this was taken away from her. If you take it literally, it caught fire, but it could mean that that something else happened, that it was stolen, that something tragic happened in her life, and all of this was taken away and she had to go somewhere else. It's a bit unclear. Camille might not even be talking about herself. This could all be a narrative that she's writing down. But in my experience, most poets talk about their life. Most poets talk about, stuff that's happened to them. And so if we use what we know about Camille, and use what we're seeing in this poem, how this sort of deserty kind of scrub steppe kind of landscape flare up and everything kind of went away, we might be able to conclude that she's talking about a forest fire or a devastating sort of scrubland fire. Living on the West Coast, those are pretty frequently, especially at the time that she wrote this. It was published in April of 2018. California has seen its fair share of fires in the 2010s and continues to see them, in this decade, where large swaths of land and places that people call home are catching fire. So everything that they love is just being taken away, or the place where they loved no longer looks like it once did because it's covered in scorch marks and all the trees are gone, and so it's not what they once loved. Maybe some of the animals ran away too. And so, despite Dungy, talking about this place that she loves, this poem is really more melancholic, more like sad, nostalgic, because everything that was there has been taken away from her because of these devastating fires, of this devastating sort of unknown event that might have happened to her, which is rather unfortunate. So those are my thoughts on This Beginning May Have Always Meant This End by Camille Dungy. I didn't talk about the title, but it is important to think about what she means by this beginning, what beginning, and this end, specifically the devastation. What exactly does she mean by that? I don't think I talked about that in the analysis section. But I do think that that's an important question for you. It's always important to prompt the viewers of these videos. So I'm going to ask you, what do you think she means by this title? Why does this beginning have to do with this end? Let me know in the comments, or just tell me what you thought of the poem below. Would love to hear from you. Otherwise, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so that more people can find out about this poem, this author, or Poetry Thursday in general, and join the Discord if you haven't done so already. And until then, I wish you the best of luck in your weird and hopefully not too devastating travels. Farewell.